Hi, Leslie Hornsby here. Thanks for joining me. And for those that have already subscribed to my channel in the past, you'll know that generally speaking, I talk about life coaching and NLP and all good stuff like that. But I'm also a certified CIPD personal development trainer, and I specialise in communication skills. And in that capacity, I am delivering a presentation skills course next month. So for those that are local, and by local I mean people who live in the Manchester and Cheshire area of the UK, that to help people decide whether they might like to attend the training, it would be quite nice to give them a little taster of the content of the presentation skills course that I will be delivering on the 30th of June. And where better to start than the importance of giving a good introduction to your presentation. Now, believe me, it is a pretty crucial part of your presentation. It's where you set the scene for what's to come. It allows people to understand what it is you're going to tell them, and also gives them a sense of you as a presenter. Preparing people in this way is important, particularly if you're going to impart new information. You know, the way that our brains functions means that giving people the landscape of your talk helps their minds to grasp what it is more easily when the time comes. Now, introductions can serve a number of important functions too. First off, they're about capturing your audience's attention. A good intro should also provide background information on your subject, and if your audience don't know you personally, it's also a place where you should introduce yourself, tell them who you are and why you're qualified to speak on the subject. And at that point, it also could be a good idea to mention the length of your presentation. It just reduces that fidgeting thing that can go on. And just as an aside here, it can be very tempting to try and read your audience. And if they're not all poised on the edge of their seats, it is very common for people to assume it's their fault. They think, well, I've bored them, or I haven't crafted a clear enough message, so they've lost interest. And you know what? That is not necessarily so. People come to the table with all kinds of stuff going on in their own lives that's not necessarily evident. So my advice is take that into account, because everything is not about you. Okay, so back to introductions. And as I've said, a good intro is essential to get your audience's attention. And there are a variety of devices that you can use to achieve that. So here we're going to go through a short list of some of the most common intros that people use. First off then is try asking a question, generally rhetorical, unless of course you're hoping to create a debate. And so that's the first one, and I would give you any number of examples on the course as to what that would look and sound like. Then there's storytelling, and that's a case of coming up with a tale that gives a great example of your presentation subject. It can really give context and interest. And again, obviously, I would go into a lot more detail on the day of the training in relation to that particular device. Next up then, you could try some kind of pertinent factual statement. Now, preferably that is also got to be interesting and thought-provoking. Then the next option you can use is trying using an anecdote. That is a technique that is very much along the same lines as storytelling, although it does tend to suggest that it's something a bit more succinct. When we talk about storytelling, by the way, I would suggest to you, if you can find something that is a personal experience element to it, that can only serve to enhance your credibility. And then there is another technique you can use, which is to use humour, make them laugh. This, I would suggest, is contingent on the nature of the presentation in the first instance. And more importantly, please don't try this unless it comes naturally to you. I've seen many a person crash and burn attempting this when it's not their natural disposition. It can just end up sabotaging the entire presentation, because if not delivered properly, your credibility will suffer quite a lot, particularly if the subject matter is not appropriately humorous. Another tactic in this bag of tricks is to give a quote. And again, of course, make it relevant to your presentation, something perhaps that makes a point of some kind. And then finally, the last technique that I'm going to cover here is the use of a shocking statement. This could be a statistic of some kind or an interesting fact that works to illustrate whatever point that you wish to make to your audience. This kind of intro can set up a level of expectation that can grip your audience if it's done properly. So that's it. Yep, very high level, very quick review of some of the ways you can develop a killer introduction to your presentation. Of course, you get to dig into this stuff in much more detail if you go on the training. And we deal with dealing with nerves, to learning about how to scope and build your presentation, deliver with confidence, and keep your audience interested. So if you like the sound of that, why not reserve yourself a place? The training is on the 30th of June. And for full details on the course, you just need to head over to the address that I've added below. And while we're talking about intros in presentations, it would be really fascinating to know what techniques you've tried in the past, how they've played out. So please do leave a comment below and share your experiences. But for now, thank you so much for stopping by. And if it is local enough for you, I hope that I see you in June. But for now, stay well and take care.